Picture this. It is, I don't know, 6:30 p.m. It's a Tuesday, not the end of the week, just a random nondescript Tuesday. You've just driven home from the office. Or maybe, for the remote folks, you just closed the laptop in the home office and walked out to the car just to get some physical separation from the house, just to drive around the block and come back.
Right, to create that boundary.
Exactly. So
Okay.
you pull into the driveway, you turn the engine off, the house is right there, the lights are on, you can see the silhouette of your family inside, dinner is probably on the table or getting close. You know you should open the door and go inside.
But you don't.
You don't. You physically can't make your hand reach for the handle. You just sit there. The silence in the car is the only thing keeping you together. And you catch yourself thinking, I just need 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes where nobody asks me for anything. 5 minutes where I don't have to solve a problem.
It's the driveway moment. That's what it's called.
The driveway moment. And here is the kicker, and this is what we are really digging into today. You used to love this business. You built this thing from scratch. It was your dream. But sitting there in the driveway, staring at the textured plastic of the steering wheel, it doesn't feel like a dream anymore.
No.
It feels like a machine that feeds on you.
That is a visceral image, isn't it? But what we are diving into today suggests that this isn't just a bad day. It isn't just a mood swing or, low blood sugar. That driveway moment is a specific chronic state that thousands of business owners are living in right now.
It's a symptom.
It's the symptom. It is the defining image of the modern trapped entrepreneur.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're looking at a deep dive into the reality of business owner burnout. But, and this is a huge but, we aren't going to give you the usual advice. We aren't going to tell you to take a bubble bath, buy a gratitude journal, or go on a silent retreat.
Right. Because if you are sitting in that driveway, paralyzed, you have probably already tried those things.
Oh, for sure.
And spoiler alert, they didn't work.
Exactly. We're looking at insights from Ryan Hurst and his group, specifically a framework called Fixing the Machine. And the core mission of this discussion, really, is to prove to you that you cannot rest your way out of this type of burnout. We're going to look at the biology of why your brain is locking up. I mean, literally, the chemistry of it.
Yeah, the physiology.
The 5 specific signs that prove you aren't just tired, and how to actually stop the machine from eating you alive.
And just to set the stakes here immediately, this is about understanding that burnout, in this context, is not a wellness problem. It is a business model problem.
That's a heavy distinction. It shifts the blame, in a way, from the person to the system they've built.
Completely.
So let's start at the things that fail, because if I'm that person in the driveway, I've probably heard it all from well-meaning friends. You need boundaries. You need to delegate. Just take a vacation.
Ugh. The just take a vacation advice is probably the most dangerous thing you can tell a business owner in this state.
Dangerous? That seems strong. I mean, everyone loves a vacation. How can a week in Cabo be dangerous?
Well, it's dangerous because it sets them up for a specific type of psychological failure. It leads to what is being called the 72-hour crash.
Okay, walk us through that, the 72-hour crash.
It works like this. You listen to the advice, you book the trip, you go away for a week. Maybe you even manage to turn your phone off for a few days, which is, let's be honest, a minor miracle in itself.
A huge win, yeah.
You feel a little better, your shoulders drop an inch, you remember what it feels like to not have a knot in your stomach, but then you come back.
The return flight blues. We all get that.
It's worse than blues.
Yeah.
The data shows that within 72 hours of walking back through that office door, you are not just back to baseline stress, you are actually worse off than before you left.
Worse? How?
Because the work didn't go away just because you did.
Right, the pile just got higher.
Exactly. The pile just got higher. You walk in and you are immediately overwhelmed. You are playing catch up on emails. You're dealing with the crises that happened while you were gone because clearly the team couldn't handle them without you. Plus, you have the current day's fires to put out. It's an avalanche.
So the relaxation just evaporates instantly.
Instantly. And there's this incredible analogy used to explain this. Taking a vacation from a broken business model is like taking a vacation from a house that is on fire.
Oh, wow. Okay, that creates a vivid picture. You can't really enjoy the beach if you know your living room is burning down.
You can't. The fire doesn't go out just because you aren't looking at it. In fact, it's probably burned down another room while you were sipping a margarita. So you come back to a bigger disaster. And psychologically, that is devastating.
Why devastating?
Because you internalize a new, terrible belief. I can never leave. Leaving makes it worse.
That hits hard. It really frames why self-care feels so frustrating for entrepreneurs. It feels like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
It is. You're treating the symptom, not the actual disease.
Which brings us to the central thesis we need to wrap our heads around. You mentioned there's a fundamental distinction between exhaustion and burnout. People use them interchangeably, but they're not the same.
Not at all. In a clinical sense, they're chemically different states.
Okay, break that down for us. What is the difference?
Exhaustion is physical or mental depletion. It is solved by rest. If you run a marathon, you are exhausted.
Yeah.
You sleep for 2 days, eat some pasta, you hydrate, and you are back to normal. Your muscles repair, you bounce back.
Right. It's a linear recovery. Input rest, get recovery.
Exactly. Burnout, specifically for a business owner, is different. Burnout is not solved by rest. Burnout is solved by change.
That's the takeaway right there. Exhaustion is solved by rest. Burnout is solved by change.
Precisely. If you rest for a week and you wake up Monday morning still feeling that same pit in your stomach, you are not tired. You are caught in a structural trap. You are returning to the exact conditions that broke you in the first place.
So no amount of sleep fixes a broken system.
0.
Okay, so if this isn't just about needing a nap, what is actually happening? I want to get into the biology of this because the research comes from Ryan Hurst, who has this fascinating background. He's not just a business advisor, he was a registered nurse.
And that background is key. He looks at business problems through a clinical lens. He compares business burnout to a medical crisis, like, say, a heart attack.
But heart attack is so obvious. You clutch your chest, you call 911, everyone around you knows something is terribly wrong.
Right. A heart attack has a clear diagnosis and a clear protocol. Everyone knows what to do. Burnout is sneakier, it disguises itself, it wears a costume.
What's the costume?
It's called dedication or hustle. You tell yourself, I'm just working hard, I'm just grinding, this is what it takes to succeed. But physiologically, your body is in a constant state of emergency.
So what is happening under the hood? If we put a burned-out entrepreneur in an MRI or looked at their blood work, what would we actually see?
It's the cortisol.
Yeah.
When you are in that chronic state of everything depends on me, your adrenal glands are pumping cortisol nonstop.
That's your fight or flight hormone, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's designed for short-term survival like running away from a bear or lifting a car off a baby. It is not designed to be your baseline state for 3 years straight.
And I imagine having that much stress hormone flooding your system it messes with your head.
It does more than mess with it. It shuts parts of it down. This is the crucial part to understand. High chronic levels of cortisol inhibit the prefrontal cortex.
Okay, which is, refresh my memory on the brain anatomy. That's the front part, right? The smart part.
Think of the prefrontal cortex as the CEO of your brain. It's responsible for strategic thinking, planning, impulse control, and complex decision-making.
Yeah.
It's the part of you that can look at a problem and say, okay, let's build a system to fix this for the long term.
And the cortisol locks the door to the CEO's office.
Effectively, yes. When cortisol is chronically high, the brain prioritizes the amygdala and the reptilian brain, the parts responsible for immediate survival. It says, we don't have time for strategy. There is a bear in the room.
Wow.
So the business owner physically cannot access the strategic thinking required to fix the business.
So wait a minute. You're telling me that the exact part of the brain I need to fix my broken business, the part that strategizes and plans, is the part that gets turned off by the stress of the business.
That is the feedback loop from hell. It's not that the business owner won't make good strategic decisions. It is that they physically can't. Their brain is chemically blocked from accessing that mode. They are stuck in the reptilian brain reaction, survival, put out the fire right in front of me.
That explains so much. That explains the reactive mode. You wake up, check your email, and just start swatting at flies until 6 p.m. You feel incredibly busy, but you aren't actually moving forward.
And that leads to decision fatigue. It's not just some buzzword. It becomes a daily reality. You are making so many low-level survival decisions. Where do I put this file? What do I tell this client? What's for lunch? That you have zero capacity left for the high-level decisions that would actually get you out of the trap.
It's a cruel irony. You cannot think your way out because the problem itself is preventing you from thinking.
Which is why willpower fails.
Yeah.
You can't will your prefrontal cortex back online while you are actively traumatizing it with chronic stress. It's like trying to run on a broken leg just by wanting it enough.
The biology wins every time.
Every single time.
Okay, so we know the mechanism, but how do we know if we are actually there? Because I feel like tired is the default state for every business owner I know. How do we distinguish normal tired from dangerous burnout?
We need to diagnose this properly. And there are 5 very specific signs. These aren't the generic ones you see on some health blog like feeling sad or sleeping poorly. These are highly specific to the business owner experience.
Okay, let's run through them. I want listeners to mentally check these off. Sign number 1, dreading the best clients.
This one is huge. And we aren't talking about the nightmare client, the one who calls at midnight and refuses to pay.
No, anyone would dread them. That's just common sense.
Exactly. We were talking about when your phone rings and you see the name of your absolute best client, the one who pays on time, is polite, loves your work, and refers their friends, and you still feel a pit in your stomach.
That feeling of, oh no, they need something, even if it's good news, even if it's more business.
Even then, the mere fact that they need you feels like a weight you can't carry. It's a sign that the act of service itself, the work, has become a burden. The work has become the enemy, regardless of who it's for.
That's a scary place to be because that client is literally the lifeblood of the business. Okay, so sign number 2, the escape fantasy.
This is when you stop dreaming about the future of the company and start dreaming about getting a job at Starbucks.
Or just any job where you can clock out at 5. The W-2 fantasy.
Right. It's the specific behavior of Googling how to sell a business at 10:00 p.m. on a Tuesday. And you aren't doing it because it's a strategic exit. You aren't looking at EBITDA multiples and market timing.
No, you're looking for the eject button.
You are doing it because you want the pain to stop. You start fantasizing about having a boss just so someone else carries the mental load.
I think a lot of people will resonate with that secret late-night Googling. Maybe I could just drive for Uber.
Exactly. It's not about the money. It's about the abdication of responsibility.
Yeah.
You want out of the driver's seat.
Okay, sign number 3, catastrophizing small problems.
This goes right back to the nervous system being shot. When you are at capacity, your brain loses the ability to distinguish between an inconvenience and an emergency.
So a scheduling conflict feels like the end of the world.
Yes. A client asks to reschedule a meeting, or an employee calls in sick, and instead of just solving it, your body reacts like the building is burning down. Your heart races, your palms sweat, you feel this surge of rage or despair.
So a negative Google review might ruin your entire week, not just your hour.
Oh, absolutely. You have no emotional buffer left.
It's like walking around with a really bad sunburn. Even a gentle pat on the back hurts.
That's a perfect analogy. Everything hurts because the protective layer is gone.
All right, sign number 4. The memory of excitement is gone.
This one is a sad one. It's not just that you aren't happy today. It's that you can't even remember what it felt like to be excited about the business. That spark is just gone.
So the passion has been entirely replaced by obligation.
Entirely. You aren't building a cathedral anymore. You're just sweeping the floors to keep the dust down.
You're just in maintenance mode, just keeping the lights on.
Exactly. And growth feels impossible, maybe even terrifying, because growth means more work, and you physically cannot handle more work. So you unconsciously sabotage growth to protect yourself.
And finally, sign number 5, which we touched on earlier, rest doesn't restore.
This is the critical differentiator. This is the one that really separates the two. You take the weekend, you sleep for 10 hours straight, you wake up Monday, and the tank is still on empty.
It's like charging a battery that just can't hold a charge anymore.
That's it. And that proves the tank isn't just leaking fuel, the engine is fundamentally broken.
Okay, so let's do a quick audit for the listener right now. If you are listening to this, just do a quick count on your fingers. 1, dreading good clients. 2, the escape fantasy. 3, catastrophizing small stuff. 4, no memory of excitement. And 5, rest doesn't work.
Okay, so if you have 0 or 1 of these, congratulations, you are probably just tired. Go get some sleep, you will be fine.
And if you have 2 or 3?
You are in the danger zone. You are approaching the cliff. You need to make changes now before you slide further down.
And if you score a 4 or 5?
You are burned out. I want to be crystal clear about this. Rest will not fix this. If you score a 4 or 5, the machine you have built is structurally flawed. You are operating a machine that consumes its operator.
That brings us to the root cause. If it's not just I'm working too hard, what is the actual mechanical failure in the business? Why do smart, capable people build machines that eat them?
It usually comes down to what Hurst calls the one-lever mistake.
The one-lever mistake. Okay, what is that?
Think about the cockpit of an airplane. There are lots of levers and dials to fly the plane. But most business owners, when they run into trouble or when they want to grow, they only know how to pull one single lever.
Which is?
Leads. More customers. More sales. They think, if I just sell more, everything will be fine.
Growth solves all problems, right? That's the mantra you hear everywhere.
That's the myth. Revenue feeds the ego, but profit feeds the family. There are actually 7 levers of profit, things like your conversion rate, your average transaction size, purchase frequency, your gross margins, retention, referrals. But most owners ignore those 6 and just hammer on the leads lever.
So what happens when you only focus on volume? What's the consequence?
You usually end up with terrible margins.
Yeah.
You undercharge and you overwork to make up for it with volume. You bring in more people, more chaos, more complexity, but not enough profit to hire the high-level help you actually need to manage it all.
So they try to outrun a bad business model with more sales.
Exactly. And that creates the bottleneck problem. There's a case study mentioned in our notes that is just, it's heartbreakingly common. An HVAC owner. Let's call him David.
Yeah, let's talk about David. Paint the picture for us.
So David is doing $850,000 in revenue. On paper, that sounds successful, right? That's nearly $1 million business.
It sounds like a real business. From the outside, he looks like he's made it. He's got trucks on the road. He's got guys working for him.
Right. But he's stuck at a 9% profit margin. So after paying everyone else, the business only keeps a tiny sliver. And to get that 9%, he is working 65 hours a week, every week.
Ouch. So let's do the math on that. If he's taking home that 9%, plus maybe a small salary per hour, he might be making less than his lead technician.
Very likely. And he had tried taking vacations, 3 of them in 2 years. And every single time, it was a disaster. Why? Because every single decision ran through him.
He wasn't just the owner.
No, he was the master controller, the dispatcher, the problem solver, the chief strategist, the HR department, the complete department.
He was the bottleneck.
He was. And there's a really important nuance here. David wasn't burned out because he was weak. He wasn't burned out because he lacked hustle. He was burned out because the business was designed to consume him. There's a quote that really sticks with me. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
This owner, David, he could handle every single decision. He was capable, he was smart, but should he? Absolutely not. Because by doing so, he built a machine that required 65 hours of his specific personal labor to function.
That's the machine metaphor again. If you build a machine that runs on coal, you can't be surprised when it demands coal every day. If you build a business that runs on your personal adrenaline and 60-hour weeks, you can't be surprised when it demands your life.
Exactly. The realization has to be, the business literally cannot survive my absence. And that is a structural flaw, not a personal character defect.
I think that's a huge relief for people to hear. It stops that shame spiral. It's not, I'm not good enough. It's, I built the wrong schematic.
Yes, and schematics can be changed. You can rewire the machine.
So let's talk about changing it. How do we start to fix the machine? Because if I'm in that driveway, I don't have the energy for a massive overhaul. I can barely order dinner, let alone restructure my entire company.
And that's the trick. You don't start with a massive overhaul. You can't. You start with a pivot in thinking. The decision isn't hustle versus rest. The decision is keep doing what burns you out versus fix what is broken.
So we need to get that prefrontal cortex, the CEO, back online before we can do any of the heavy lifting.
Right. The immediate goal isn't double revenue. The immediate goal is reduce chronic stress enough to think straight. We need to stop the bleeding first.
There is a really tactical exercise in the notes called the yes audit. I love this because it's something you can do immediately, and it costs nothing but a piece of paper and some honesty.
It's incredibly revealing. Here is what you do.
Yeah.
For 1 week, you track every single time you say yes to something. A client request, an employee question, a meeting, a favor. You just write it down.
Everything. Yes, I'll take that call. Yes, I'll sign that check. Yes, I'll go fix that pipe myself.
Everything. Then, at the end of the week, you look at that list and you run it through a very specific filter. You circle the ones you said yes to out of obligation, out of guilt, or because of the belief that no one else can do this.
The I have to or it won't get done right pile.
That list, those circled items, that is your burnout fuel. That is the specific list of activities that is burning you out. It's not work in general. It's those specific tasks where you are acting as the bottleneck unnecessarily.
It's seeing it on paper that must change things. When you realize, oh my gosh, I said yes to 10 things this week that I didn't actually need to do just because I felt guilty, that's empowering.
It is. It stops being this vague cloud of stress and becomes a data set.
And it helps you identify which lever is stuck. Maybe you're saying yes to low-margin work because your pricing lever is broken. Maybe you're saying yes to solving employee problems because your process lever is broken.
Exactly. It moves you from, I'm overwhelmed, to, oh, I have a process problem in the installation department.
It turns a monster into a mechanics problem.
Yeah,
And you can fix a mechanics problem. You can't fight a monster.
precisely.
And what does the other side look like? Because when you are in the thick of it, it's so hard to imagine anything else. What is the vision we are aiming for here?
The vision of recovery isn't necessarily lying on a beach forever. It's much more subtle. It's about checking your phone on a Saturday morning and feeling nothing.
Nothing. That sounds a little underwhelming. I want to feel joy.
No, trust me, in this context, nothing is glorious. It means no dread, no panic, no spike of adrenaline thinking, what exploded now? Just quiet.
Okay, I get that.
And then a client calls with a problem, and instead of wanting to throw the phone out the window, you feel a flicker of curiosity. Oh, that's an interesting problem. How do we solve that?
That sounds like a superpower. To have the mental space for curiosity instead of exhaustion.
It's not a superpower. It's the result of a functioning machine. It's what happens when you aren't the fuel source anymore. You become the operator, not the engine.
I love that. Curiosity instead of exhaustion. That's the goal.
It is. And it's attainable for small teams. This isn't just for the Fortune 500. It's for the HVAC guy, the marketing agency owner, the consultant. But you have to make the decision to fix the model.
So as we wrap this up, we are really looking at two paths for the listener right now.
Path 1 is the default. It's a path of least resistance, ironically. You keep going, you white-knuckle it. The driveway moments get longer. Maybe next week it's 10 minutes. Maybe next month you start snapping at your kids. You just hope it gets better.
But hope is not a strategy, and the biology tells us it won't get better on its own. It will degrade. The cortisol will keep doing its damage, further locking up that prefrontal cortex.
It will. Path 2 is the harder choice in the short term, but it's the only one that actually works. You stop trying to rest. You start trying to diagnose. You look for the broken lever. You do the yes audit. You have to admit that familiar is what got you stuck in the driveway in the first place.
Different is uncomfortable, but familiar is what got you stuck. That's powerful. We cling to the familiar even when it's hurting us.
And you don't have to do it alone. The material mentions that Ryan Hurst is doing specific research for his Profit Foundation project right now.
Right. He's doing these research conversations.
Yeah, and to be clear, this isn't some veiled sales pitch. They are 45-minute research calls, specifically to help identify the stuck lever for service business owners in that $250K to $5 range. He's gathering data on exactly these bottlenecks.
So if you want someone to look at your machine with you and say, hey, that gear over there, that's why you're so tired, that's available.
It's a resource. And frankly, getting an outside set of eyes on your machine is often the only way to see the flaws you've become blind to.
It's hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle.
Exactly.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with. It's a bit of a challenge.
Stop trying to rest from a machine that keeps burning you out. Start fixing the machine.
And ask yourself this. If you change nothing, absolutely nothing about your business model today, how long until you simply can't open that car door anymore?
That's the question.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and go fix that machine.
See you next time.